I felt the cold salt water hit my face like the strike of a whip. I barely clung to the shattered remains of the ship's broken mast. The waves were furious, tossing us like mere driftwood. Around me, men screamed in terror, clinging to anything they could find. Planks, ropes, each other. But nothing could stop the relentless sea. The storm was fierce, the kind that tears the heavens open and devours everything beneath it. I gasped for air as another towering wave crashed down. We were going to die. Suddenly, the ship's hull split with a deafening crack. A surge of panic swept through me as men were thrown overboard, the icy waters claiming them one by one. I could barely make out the distant silhouette of land, but it felt unreachable, like a cruel illusion in the storm's madness. "Hold on!" I shouted, though my voice was drowned in the chaos. My arms burned, my body bruised, but I knew I couldn't let go. The Lord had spoken. He promised no lives would be lost, and though it seemed impossible, I believed him. But the sea had other plans. It all started months ago. We had set sail for Italy, under the orders of Caesar, and I, Paul, a prisoner for the gospel, was being taken to Rome to stand trial. The centurion, Julius, had been kind to me, allowing me to visit friends in Sidon before we continued our voyage. The journey had been peaceful at first, but as we neared Crete, the wind began to shift. Something ominous lingered in the air. "Men, I sense this voyage will bring disaster, not just to the ship and cargo, but to our lives." I warned them, but they dismissed my concerns. The harbor was too small to spend the winter, and they were eager to reach a safer port. Against my advice, we set sail. That was when everything began to spiral out of control. The storm hit like an enemy ambush. It was called the Northeaster, a fierce windstorm, relentless and merciless. Day after day, we were battered, the ship groaning under the pressure. We had no control. The wind dictated our path. For 2 weeks, we saw no sun, no stars, just darkness. Endless, suffocating darkness. We threw the cargo overboard, even the ship's tackle, trying to lighten the load, but it did little to help. Despair gripped the crew. Food ran low. Strength drained from our bodies. It seemed like death was drawing nearer with every gust of wind. It was in the heart of that nightmare that the Lord spoke to me. In the stillness of the night, amid the storm, His presence came like a whisper of peace in the chaos. "Take courage, men. Last night, an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me. He said, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you.' I told them no lives would be lost, only the ship. But as the days wore on, fear still clung to the men like a heavy cloak. It wasn't until we saw land, a distant glimmer of hope, that a flicker of belief sparked in their eyes. The land was closer now, but the ship was beyond saving. We had to swim. "Jump!" I shouted, grabbing what little strength I had left. I leapt into the water, cold as death itself, and began kicking towards the shore. Around me, men struggled, fighting against the waves. Some reached the shore, others clung to debris. I pushed forward, gasping for air as the storm tried to pull us back into its jaws. I refused to let it win. Finally, my feet touched sand. I stumbled onto the shore, collapsing, drenched and exhausted. We had made it. Against all odds, we had survived. God had promised, and His word held true. But as we stumbled onto the shores of Malta, salvation was not the first thing that greeted us. No, something else awaited. We were met not with warmth, but with uncertainty. Armed islanders stood before us, their spears and bows at the ready. We had escaped one calamity, but had we walked into another? In that moment, we didn't know if these men would be our salvation or our doom. The storm had spared our lives, but perhaps it had only delayed our fate. All we could do was trust in the Lord and wait. Subscribe to hear more from our first-person narrative audio Bible.